Hi, nobodies. Um, wasn't planning on posting again, and this one might be short. I don't know. I always think I'm gonna just do like a short thing, but then it gets out of hand. Okay, so I was just going through Facebook and I come across one of the mom groups, and they were talking about somebody, you know, uh, the fact that a lot of us have no clue what we're having done. Um, Doctors don't often tell you, like, options. They tell you what they want to do, you know. Um, Instead of telling you, well, you don't have to do this, there are other options we can explore. They don't tell you that. It's kind of like most of us know that if you're female, and you've had as many kids as you want, you have certain options. And these options are, you could get everything removed, a total hysterectomy, and you'll never have another kid. You could get your tubes tied, also known as a tubal ligation. You could have the man you're with get a vasectomy. And people know about this. People know, okay, these are things, you take birth control, or you get, and what kind of birth control. You can take the pills, you can take the Depo shot, you can take an IUD. You can do like all these things. What a lot of people don't think about, they figure that if the doctor is telling them, well, we're going to do a tubal ligation, you don't really get much say on how the doctor is going to perform that, because there's more than one way to do that procedure. And they don't tell you about possible side effects. They don't, just like with a vasectomy, I don't think that they tell the guys everything that the guys need to know, like the chances of this thing happening or that thing happening in the procedure. Now, granted, if you look up these things, if you look up, like, I'm going to have a tubal ligation, what are the drawbacks? You will come across people who have had some really bad things happen. Google can be very scary. And the wonderful thing about these mom groups is that, when you, or different groups on Facebook, is that you can ask about something. Yeah, you're going to get people's horror stories. Don't doubt that. You're going to get horror stories. Oh, it was the worst decision I ever made. And then you're going to have some people who are like, okay, y'all are scaring this poor girl. I ain't had any problems with this being done. When I went to the doctor when I went to the gyno to get a cyst removed, I had been to a male gyno like a week before, and the cyst was still there. Did not feel comfortable going back to him. He hurt me. I normally don't have a problem with male gynos, but that guy legit fucked up my head about, I don't ever want to see him again. It was bad. So when I went back to the lady, she asked about, like we had discussed my anemia and heavy flow, blah, blah, blah. Which some people attribute that heavy menstruation to, oh, I got the tubal ligation. I've always had that. It's always been a problem. So, not going to blame that on that procedure. But when I went in there, she tells me about ablation, which I'd never heard of before. Nobody ever thought to tell me about this, But she said, I'm surprised you didn't recommend you get a hysterectomy, And I knew that word. because that's like, oh, that's one of the ways you keep from getting pregnant, But it's a horrible thing and most women do know that if you have that done, you'll go into early menopause. That's basic knowledge. So I decided to do this particular vlog to basically put out there that don't expect your doctor to give you all of your options or to tell you why you should or shouldn't do a procedure. I mean, yes, they can give you good information. The thing is they're much like me, that you can ask me a question and I will answer it. Sometimes you have to ask specific questions to get the answer that you need to hear. If you don't ask me specifically for something, I may not include that. And that's the way doctors are. If you come at them like you know about a procedure, then they're not going to dumb it down for you. See, they're supposed to have this bedside manner. They're not just going to walk in and start throwing out terms at a patient, because a patient wouldn't like that. A patient would feel like, they'd be feeling like, okay, I'm just nodding my head and I don't understand half the words he just said to me. And they're going to say, well, whatever you think is best, you're the doctor, We've got to stop doing that, because the doctors don't always tell you stuff. You can have a symptom. You can have something bothering you. You go to the doctor, and he is going to treat the symptom. If you get a really good doctor, he's going to figure out what the cause is. He's going to try to figure out what the cause is. But most of them are just wanting to treat you for whatever you come into their office for. You say, oh, I've been seriously itchy lately. They're not worried about, well, maybe one of the medications you're taking is causing this. No, they're just going to treat you for the fact that you're trying to scratch through your skin. So, Google to the rescue again, or Bing, whichever search engine you like. Hit it. A lot of times you can find that, oh, this is a symptom of this. Now, I'm not saying you go like all WebMD and like diagnose yourself as, I think I might have pancreatitis. No, that's a doctor's job. But you can look up every medication you take and side effects. And if you get really good at reading those things, you can actually find on a lot of medications, it'll tell you like out of so many people, what percentage of them experienced certain side effects. Because just about every drug is going to have like the same basic side effects. It's all, chances are it's going to upset your stomach. It's going to cause weight gain or weight loss or both. Listed as the side effects. The side effects can be confusing. If you have a question about your medication, the best person to talk to is a pharmacist. Lovely thing. You can just walk into Walgreens, Walmart, CVS, your mom and pop pharmacy, and you can say, hey, I have been scratching through my skin. Do you think it could be one of my meds? And chances are the pharmacist is going to say, oh, yeah, it's probably this one. They'll know exactly which one is causing that reaction in you. And, I mean, it's possible. Like, they'll know they've got to their disposal actual lists of, like the high, like they know how to read that stuff. Whereas the average person may not understand what they're reading. And they will talk to you at your level. But they can typically say, oh, well, one of these drugs you're taking, yeah, that's a very common side effect. And they will have options for you. You know, it might just be that it's the particular brand of generic you're taking. You know, maybe you need capsules instead of tablets because it might be the filler or the buffer or whatever. You know, they can figure that out. They can call your doctor up and say, hey, the patient is taking this. We think it's causing a reaction. You know, the pharmacist can say their insurance will cover this. And then the doctor will say, okay, well, we'll prescribe them something different. A pharmacist is a good person to have a relationship with. As far as if you're taking something, ask them about it. If you don't feel comfortable Googling that information, or you don't understand what you read on rx.com or drugs.com, if you feel like, well, none of this really makes sense to me, talk to the pharmacist. The pharmacist is there to help you. He is like, he's like a weed connoisseur. You know, when you go into some place and they're like, well, hey, I got this and I got this. Oh, you want it to be like this? Okay, I got this stuff. You know, the pharmacist knows about all of the drugs. Now, some of them they're going to be more familiar with, but they can pull it up on their computer and they can translate what they read to you. People have this habit of just trusting doctors. Well, and they have this habit of trusting that the drugs they're taking are safe. Yeah. Google just about any drug and you will see some tort lawyer suing for, did someone you know die from taking Adderall? You know, just about every drug on the market there are lawsuits against. And that's because people trust their doctors. The doctors trust that the medication is safe because it went through everything. Pharmacist is just doing his job and making sure that you're not taking two medications that could kill you when taken together, which, believe it or not, actually happens like at least once a week in any given pharmacy, that a doctor will prescribe a patient two drugs that should not be taken together, because a regular doctor doesn't always know that those two things can't be taken together, whereas a pharmacist knows immediately, hey, I need to talk to the doctor about this and see if there's a reason that these two things are going, you know, and make sure that the patient knows, hey, if your blood pressure goes up, stop taking this immediately, go to the ER. You know, people need to be more aware of, if you have this side effect, get to the hospital. You know, we give our daughters birth control pills all the time. I have met, when I worked in a pharmacy, I have met like 3 or 4 teenage girls who didn't smoke who had birth control strokes. It happens. They were unaware that that was even a possibility because nobody told them, hey, you could have a stroke taking birth control. That is a danger of taking birth control pills. Some birth control pills worse than others. You know, smoking can affect it. You know, most of the time, like if you're over, I think it's 35 and you smoke, a doctor is not likely to prescribe you the pills. Like they will only give you Depo. But it's important that as consumers, we know what our problem is, the options, before we even talk to the doctor. Have a good idea of, this is a problem I've been having. What could it possibly be? You know, like write shit down, like when you're hurting, what's going on, you know, all of the stuff that goes along with it. Get tons of information and have a good conversation with your doctor about it. If your medication, you feel like, man, I'm wasting my time taking this antidepressant, it does this and this and this to me, talk to your doctor, get on something else. They make tons of different drugs for just about everything. Just about any condition you got, there's more than one drug they can prescribe you. So if it's not doing a decent job, or if it's giving you side effects that you are not cool with, talk to your doctor, get something else. You could even talk to a pharmacist and just say, hey, this drug is doing this to me, because the pharmacist has to honor HIPAA as well. Anything you discuss with the pharmacist, they're not allowed to share it with other people. It is confidential. So, you talk to them about, hey, I'm having these side effects, and they'll tell you, like with certain drugs, they'll say, oh yeah, that one will put some weight on you. Well, okay, what drug might not put so much weight on me? And they can give you an idea. And then you can talk to your doctor and say, well, hey, I've noticed that this one doesn't have like the weight gain thing, or this one doesn't have the libido decrease, the sex drive decrease, or the cannot ejaculate side effect, and it's a simple thing. Don't just think that, okay, the doctor put me on the best thing, and if I don't feel right, I guess that's just my dumb luck. No. Sometimes the newest thing is not the best thing. Sometimes the oldest drug for the problem can be what fixes you. It worked in the past. Just because something supposedly works better doesn't mean that it'll work better for you. Drug companies spend a lot of money putting their product out and making it seem like it is the best drug on the market. It is just the newest. Has it had more research? Is it better than another? For some people, it's going to be better. But for some, the old stuff works. Sometimes you don't need new things to fix a problem that's been happening. So take that advice that every problem you have, you need to figure out what it is and be proactive about your mental health, your physical health. If you don't feel right, if something keeps happening to you that disturbs you or, gets in the way of managing your life, get to the research. And if you just really can't do it, like if it's not your thing, find somebody in your life who digs that shit. Somebody who knows how to Google things and understands what they read, or just talk to a pharmacist. Pharmacists are a wealth of information about medications, vitamins, pretty much anything. And the technicians, they're not supposed to give advice, but we know a lot. We don't know everything. But you don't have to have a pharmacist tell you to alternate ibuprofen and Tylenol when your kid's running a fever to get that fever down. That's something that you hear the pharmacist say it a couple of times. You're like, okay, that's the advice. But in a pharmacy, the tech is not supposed to tell anybody that. The tech is not supposed to give you the information. It's supposed to come from the pharmacist. So, like I said, don't expect the doctors to, I guess this kind of piggybacks on the other one, don't expect them to have your best interests at heart, because they take an oath to do no harm. That doesn't mean that they have to do what's best for you. They just are supposed to do what you ask them to. Like if you say, I'm in pain, okay, take some ibuprofen. Here's a script for 800 milligram. And then they don't tell you, oh, this could cause stomach upset, or whatever the case may be. They're not really going to tell you all that unless they're really worried about a certain drug. So don't expect them to have your best interest at heart. They're getting taken out to dinner. They're getting all kinds of free things from pharmaceutical companies. They're driven to push that new stuff. I'm not saying that they're all like that. My old doctor was not pushing any pharmaceuticals at all. So not all of them are going to push the new thing. But a lot of them are going to push just, you know, whatever drug they like best. Because that's the thing. They're going to go with what they like best, what they like to prescribe. You look at any doctor, and you're going to see the same first choice from them. If they like Lexapro, then Lexapro is what they're going to write. Unless the patient says, I don't want to take Lexapro. I want something different. Then they're going to have to tap into their head and they're going to go to something different. And it's all about just they choose to prefer things. That's in their best interest. Or they just figure, well, I won't make a mistake if I'm always writing for the same shit. You know, it's kind of like calling gelatin Jell-O. It's just easier for us to say, okay, Jell-O, not Knox brand. Just Jell-O. I'm going to go now. Bye.